The reason why so many people don't take action to manage their own money is because they feel like they need like a PhD in finance and they need to know all these terms. And honestly, you don't. As long as you have a really good foundation and you know a couple things, then you're good to go. I'm not like a smart guy, but I just understand how money works and I'm able to translate in a way that's really simple. And the other thing is, are you doing what you're preaching? A lot of the stuff that I talk about, I'm doing 100%.
This is the Personal Finance Show.
Hi, I'm Bo Humphreys, and this is the Personal Finance Show. At 22, Arian Beyzaei is Vice President of Operations at Enriched Academy and has investments of over $100,000. At 16, he read Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki and told his parents he wasn't going to college or university. They were not happy with his decision. That year, he saw Enriched Academy on Dragon's Den and decided he wanted to join their mission to help Canadians learn, understand, and control their money. Though he was young, the founders of Enriched Academy were impressed by Arian's passion for personal finance and his willingness to learn, and they let him join the company as an intern at 17. He was hired on full-time after 8 months, and since then he has presented to tens of thousands of Canadians and has been the keynote speaker for hundreds of different corporations. Arian joined me in the studio to tell us his personal finance story.
I remember when me and my family used to go to restaurants, and you would get dinner, but getting anything besides water was like a sin. It was
really?
Oh my God, you cannot get a Coca-Cola. Nope, you can't get ginger ale because it's like $2.
I love it. They make their money on the drinks, right?
Yeah,
Is that what your parents would always say?
I don't know. I think it was just something like, no, you can't afford luxuries. You can't overspend. Just get the bare minimum. And that's kind of my earliest memory. And I remember even now going to dinners like with my girlfriend, it's hard to get something that's besides water. Like it's like, yeah, I want a Ryan Ginger, and it's like, whoa. Like you kind of have to go back to those times.
We can make that at home.
Yeah, exactly.
Or take it with us. Were desserts looked upon the same way?
Same thing. Like you just go in there, get the bare minimum, and get out.
Getting your sustenance. And why go to a restaurant at all? Was it just just a special different food maybe that you wouldn't have at home?
It's like special occasions, like you go on your birthday, like stuff like that.
Even on your birthday, you couldn't get a Do you remember?
No, nothing.
I just wanted Pepsi or something. So you learned about what would have been the lesson there?
Yeah, so I don't even think there was a lesson. Like it was just be stingy or cheap, but when it comes to money, I don't want to live a cheap life. I want to be smart with the purchases you make and then spend money on the things that you kind of want to spend money on.
Yeah, like things that are valuable. Like, I mean, they were right. It costs like absolutely nothing to, first of all, get a Pepsi somewhere else. Actually, if you go to the grocery store, it's the cheapest, right? You probably get one for 35 cents or 50. But the markup that they make on these drinks is crazy. Like I stopped drinking 10 years ago because of my addiction, but I still pay $3.50 for a Coke at a bar if I go, which is really dumb.
Oh, and if you add alcohol to that, it's like $10.
Yeah, I'm saving a lot of money for sure.
You're saving so much money
because I'm gonna nurse that Coke too, right? As long as I can. But and also sometimes I'll give this to a lot of bars. They'll give it to me for free because they think I'm driving. Which is the only reason why anyone wouldn't drink, right? Because you're driving. Sometimes I am. Actually, most of the time I am driving because everyone else is drinking. Okay, so you're making money at a certain age, though. When did you start working?
So I started probably working at 16. I would buy and sell snapbacks. So snapbacks were like hats at the time.
Oh my God! Oh wait, snapback hats?
Yeah, okay, snapback hats. They made a comeback.
It.
So they made a comeback when I was in grade 9 and 10, and they're these hats that they kind of snap on the back, and you can adjust them, and they were really cool. Like you get like a Raptors snapback and some sports teams. And they were kind of rare in Canada. They were huge in the U.S. So I would buy them bulk down in the U.S.
Nice.
Bring them to Canada and just sell them to my high school friends. And that's where I started actually making like a pretty good amount of money.
You made decent money off of this?
Yeah, a couple $1,000s. I was in high school.
Okay.
And then it's funny because one of my friends came up to me and said, "Hey, Arian, I have this stock. My grandpa is like an investor. You should buy into this stock.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is great.
Stock sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds great. And I remember the name. It was Tosho. It was a mining company.
Tosho mining.
And it was,
what year was this, by the way?
2012.
Okay, 2012.
Yeah.
Because you just gave away your age, so
yeah, we'll
talk about that later. So 2012, and you're like, get this mining stock.
Yeah, so what happened, I remember calling my mom. I was in grade 10, and I called my mom like, hey, Mom, you got to open up this, because you need like a brokerage account.
You're too young for a brokerage account,
yeah,
right?
I
Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
Or older?
I think it's 18 or older.
Yeah, sure.
And so, yeah, I couldn't. Call my mom like, Mom, open up this account. Open it up. I got this stock tip. And I don't even know if it was like insider trading or whatever it was, but I put this money into this stock.
Yeah.
And in 6 months, I think I put in $3,000. I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
And it went to zero. Literally zero. I lost $3,000. And
wait, how does the stock go to zero? The company must have folded.
It went bankrupt.
Yeah.
The whole company went bankrupt.
Oh my
And
God.
I lost $3,000. And that was my first major lesson on money, that whatever anyone says, you want to buy this or that, like, do your own research.
Yeah.
And don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Well, and you're being so small business and resourceful with the importing. Did you have an import number? Did you have
no,
to
I
go through the
didn't.
whole
I don't
CRA
even
thing?
know. No,
HST,
no, I
none of
didn't
that?
do any of that. So
Yeah.
hopefully no CRA people are listening. But
well, that was years ago.
Yeah.
2012.
Yeah, there you go. No worries. It's only
So much
6
has happened
years ago.
since then. So you didn't go through any of that, but obviously you didn't charge HST, and you made a couple of $1,000, but it wasn't 30,000.
No,
which
it was
is the threshold.
Yeah, it was like maybe
So,
max 10,000.
Like for a 16-year-old, this is still a hobby.
Yep.
But that's big money, and you learned triage, which is buy from one place for one price and sell for another place.
Yep.
And of course, this is because it was through business channels, is wholesaling and distributing.
Right.
But what made you do this in the first place? I want to know. Like, what about before 16? Why weren't you doing anything for money, first of all? And what would make you think to do this?
Honestly, I don't know. Like, I really don't. And I've always wanted and has been interested in money.
Yeah.
I remember my first real book was Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
I read that in grade 10, and that changed my life. I read that book. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to go to school. Like, that was.
So you almost dropped out of school?
No, you know what? I almost
Or
dropped
did
out
you?
of high school. I didn't go to college or university.
Yeah.
And it was just because everything he was talking about in that book, that, self-education, the power of self-education, and how you can learn about different things. Now, at the same time, I wasn't a good student at all, so school wasn't for me. I realized that early. I see a lot of my friends just graduating now, and a lot of them shouldn't have gone to school.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like, I miss out on a lot of things school offers. The social aspect, meeting cool people, learning how to learn.
You mean
discipline.
university or college?
Yeah.
And because that is really what it is about. I mean, sometimes the degree doesn't matter at all. It does if you're going for something specific, of course. But really, it's just about getting through this part of your life. But it costs so much money, doesn't it?
It's insane.
Was that a factor for you?
No, it wasn't. I remember my parents are Persian, so education is so important. And when I told them I'm not going to school, it was like I didn't speak to my mom for 2 years, from grade 10 to grade 12.
Are you serious?
And
Because you knew in grade 10.
I knew in grade 10.
How?
Just that book. Like, I know, like, I wish it was one book.
Well,
and
tell me at least
back,
you met Robert Kiyosaki.
I
or
have
something.
not.
Okay.
I went to one of his seminars.
He wasn't
and
there.
I was so disappointed he wasn't there.
No, he doesn't. Apparently, he licensed out the Rich Dad Poor Dad name,
Yeah.
right? And he doesn't actually go, but he goes and speaks on his own in some places. I think you could probably find him. At least maybe you get your mom to talk to him or something.
Yep.
Smooth things over.
Exactly.
But I guess
my mom hates him.
But I guess your parents accepted this. Well, we'll talk about where you ended up, and maybe
It
that's
took them a
why.
while for them to accept
it.
it. It took them a long time.
But before this, let's talk about what your parents did. It might explain. Before this, where you were headed.
Yeah, so my parents were born in, Iran. They came to this country for a better life, and a lot of stuff happening in Iran, and it's just, they don't have the freedom that they have here in Canada. It's such an amazing country, and one of the biggest things for a Persian parent is the pride that their kids are going to go get an education, have a better life, and that's not going to school. Entrepreneurship is a word that they don't understand. They don't get it. It's like, what the heck do you mean entrepreneur? Like, that doesn't, I don't know what that means. So,
because that doesn't necessarily apply to all immigrants. I mean, there's many people who immigrated to Canada, and entrepreneurship was the thing,
the
right?
only thing.
But again, then they seem to want better for their kids, right? Is that so? They weren't in entrepreneurship. What were they doing?
So my dad is a school teacher, which is ironic, and my girlfriend's a school teacher too. So it's really ironic. And my mom was a banker.
Okay.
So she's a teller. So yeah.
They were doing this, like they moved before you were born here?
Yep,
Yeah,
born
so
here, born and raised here.
And your siblings as well?
Yep.
Okay, so they moved before they had kids. They moved, I'm guessing in the 90s or earlier?
Probably earlier.
Yeah. So they were here for a while.
Oh, for a long time.
And so they were established, and they're like, this is how you make money and you save it. Did they talk to you about money at all?
No, not really. You know what? They kind of followed the status quo that, go get a good paying job, pay down your debt, get a mortgage, or pay down your mortgage. And that's
the checklist.
Yeah,
right?
There's kind of like a checklist. And
checklist.
anything that's not that checklist is like, don't do that. No,
Yeah.
you want to go on your own? That's crazy. Don't go on your own. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? So, yeah, and then it was kind of tough for them to kind of see. And then when I joined Enriched Academy, which we can kind of talk about, I introduced them to Kevin and Jay, who are the owners of this company, and Dragon's Den kind of gave them some, throwing out a lot of stuff right now. Kind of explain. So when I was in grade 11, I was watching Dragon's Den.
Okay.
Favorite show of all time.
Yep.
And I just love the show. And this company came on, it's called Enriched Academy. And the whole premise of the company was to teach kids about money.
Yeah.
And they were talking about, why don't kids ever learn about money in school? They learn about Shakespeare. They learn about photosynthesis.
Absolutely.
But they don't learn about basic money management.
Daily stuff
Yeah.
that we do every day.
The stuff that you're actually going to use, right? Like, I
You
don't
don't
remember
use
the last
Shakespeare?
time I spoke to someone Shakespeare, right? Like that never happens.
We could try, but let's not.
Oh
Let's not go
no,
there.
that's absolutely not. So yeah. So I saw that episode. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I love these guys. I gotta work for them. So I actually sent Kevin, the owner, a couple emails saying, hey, my name's Arian. I'm in grade 11 or 12. I think I was in grade 12 at the time. So hey, I'd love to work for you. I'll work for free. I'll do whatever it takes.
Sure.
I just want some mentorship. And so the first couple emails he didn't respond to, and which kind of sucked. But what I did after that was, and I don't know where I got this from. I think I read it somewhere, but I made a 15-minute video. It was just me behind a webcam.
Okay.
And I just started talking about what I can do to make the company better. And looking back on it, it's funny that video makes no sense. Like I watch it a couple, but they love the initiative. Like, oh, wow.
You probably don't know that much about, I guess, what
Anything.
the intricacies of what the company is going to be doing, or how, or personal finance even.
Yeah.
I mean, You're Rich Dad Poor. You read other books too.
Yeah. So I read a handful of other books.
Up?
Yeah, I'm just eating the information up. But yeah, I think what I was talking about was more business related. Like, oh, you need a social media presence. You need to do webinars, and it was like, whatever. And so, but I sent them this email, and they saw it, they loved it. They're like, oh my gosh, like no one does this.
Okay.
And so they gave me a shot, and so that's kind of how I got started there, and slowly, brick by brick, kind of climbed the ladder and got a little bit better. Went out there, spoke, and made phone calls, made cold calls, did whatever I kind of had to.
Yeah.
And got really good mentoring. That's the biggest thing, getting mentored by amazing individuals. These guys are proven entrepreneurs. They sold their last company for $123 million. So
nice.
They know what they're doing. They really know what they're doing. And being able to get mentored by that, the way that I look at it, this is my schooling. Like I'm in school right now.
Well, yeah. So yeah, let's drill down on this. So you are 16. You do the entrepreneur thing. You lose your you lose your shirt on the sock. So that was all the money that you made at that point, $3,000. And so you learn your lesson about, okay, maybe I need to do some research, but no, you're not necessarily thinking, stocks are bad, or maybe I need to do a balanced portfolio or anything like that yet, right?
No.
So you're just thinking, okay, that was a bad move. I got to make a different or better move next time.
Yep.
Is that kind of the thoughts?
Kind of, yeah. And you know what? I need to go find a career, right? Like I need to really start learning how to make money before I learn how to take care of the money I make.
Yeah, so
which
this
was
is
my
pre-watching Dragon's Den.
Yep.
So you're having these thoughts. So were you still selling the snapbacks?
No, I stopped after that. Well, I actually had one really bad shipment. So so I did bulk orders because shipping was crazy expensive, and I used to kind of pre-sell them, kind of like condos. Like, which snapbacks do you want?
Oh wow,
these are the ones.
Okay,
then I'll order it.
Like consignment.
Yeah, exactly. But the shipping is crazy expensive if you do that. So what I did, I just bulk ordered like 100 snapbacks one time, which was a lot to me at the time, and they sent me like 25. And it was like the worst ones, and so I lost like a good amount of money there too, and that's where I just kind of stopped. doing that. So.
Yeah, it maybe wasn't as feasible
Yeah.
to, you didn't have any control over the inventory or anything like that.
Just another learning lesson, another mistake, another learning lesson, and I don't know why that happened, but it did happen. Yeah, I just got 25 really crappy snapbacks, paid for 100. The guy just would not return my phone calls, and and it wasn't like an actual store. I think it was someone, and
yeah, probably some guy
dude
with the source.
Yep, selling to a 16-year-old.
That's right. So maybe he kind of figured it out and decided to be a jerk.
Yeah.
Did you go do anything more entrepreneurial in high school?
No, not really. It was just a really kind of, had a lot of fun in high school. But then that's 18 years old is when I remember my friends started getting acceptances and started.
And you didn't apply at all.
I didn't even apply. And that was scary times. I remember all my friends on Twitter, they're saying, oh, I'm going to York University. Oh, I just got accepted to Western.
Yeah.
I always had entrepreneurial thoughts. I always wanted to create and build and do cool stuff.
Yeah.
But never really started a business or anything like that. And I knew how hard it would be just to go out there and be an 18-year-old to go start a business. So my mindset was, you know what? Let me go work for a startup. Let me learn as much as I can.
Yeah.
And then I'll go start my own company.
Well, that's what I would recommend to anybody.
Yeah.
I think, because I did the last 15 years working for other people. And I think, should I just have started earlier? What if I started 15 years ago?
Yeah.
Where would I be now? But the whole thing is, I wouldn't have all of the skills and knowledge that I have now. Right. So, yeah, of course, going out on your own seems like you had this bug, but you didn't have anything really to work with, right? But other than Rich Dad, Poor Dad and some experience. Literally nothing, right? Yeah, but going to work, it just seems like you were fighting like an uphill battle against society.
Oh, yeah.
Your parents.
Yep.
Everyone like telling you. And did you go work for free?
I did. I worked for free for about 8 months.
How can you? So are your parents being nice to you?
Yeah, parents being super nice, right? Living at home, not really...
Not happy with you.
Not happy with me. But you know what? Kevin and Todd and Jay Seabrook, Todd Peterson, all CEOs, founders, came to my house.
They did.
Talked to my parents. Don't worry, he's in good hands. We're going to mentor him.
How soon in? Like right from the top?
Pretty soon. They gave me a couple months. I had to kind of prove myself because they did try out with different students and they just didn't work. We've hired a ton of students and it hasn't worked out. They don't have that... tenacity. We have a 15-year-old right now.
Yeah.
His name is Tycoon Tyson.
Okay.
15 years old from London, Ontario.
Yeah.
He has 2 investment properties.
What?
2.
Oh, come on.
15 years old. And right now he's cold calling. He's generating us business. He goes to school, comes home at 2 o'clock from 2 to 5. He's picking up the phones. He's cold calling. He's generating business.
Okay, I'm guessing he got the seed money from his parents or something for the investment properties.
At 12 years old or 13, he was the #1 door-to-door meat salesperson.
So he actually made some seed money himself.
Yeah. The other property's $150,000, all private.
Yeah.
He got a private deal, so we borrowed $150,000, bought this house, paying 7% interest on that money.
He would have to have a cosigner.
His parents. His parents are realtors and they really help. But it's all him. This guy is.
That's awesome hustle.
He is the future. And
so why would he? Okay, so I guess we could answer the same question. Like, why would you? And then why would he? Why Enriched versus any other startup? Even there's lots of financial literacy, lots of education. Other people, people who help others, like credit counseling and that kind of thing. What is it about Enriched that really drew you?
No, it's such a good question. So Enriched Academy, I think the beautiful thing is it's such a pure mission. It's education, it's financial literacy, and then on top of that, it's the people behind it. Right, the company is one thing, but the people behind Enriched Academy, Kevin Cochran, Todd Peterson, Jay Seabrook, unbelievable mentors and entrepreneurs, and they're really like, I call them my grandparents just to joke around, but they're really like, Kevin is like my
they're
second
probably younger
father.
than me.
Yeah, you know what? I think Kevin is 41.
Okay,
and
a little bit older than me.
Amazing entrepreneur, and they're proven. They know what they're doing, and they're offering to help out. And so it's not like you're just working, but you're learning and working, just teaching you so many different, not just money, but business advice. And that's my advice to all my friends, right? I say, hey, what industry do you want to be in? Do you want to be a photographer? Great.
Yeah.
Go and work for free for a really well-known photographer for 6 months. And that's the best financial decision I ever made, working for free. Best financial decision.
It's so smart. I've heard, I don't know if you know who James Altucher is. He has got a podcast called The James Altucher Show. He wrote a book called Choose Yourself.
Nice.
And he has some daughters, and he made them a deal. Like, he said, don't go to school. Like, he's really quite wealthy and can pay for them to go to school. He's like, don't go to school. I'll arrange for you to work in a business. Yeah. Just go and work there. That'll be your schooling, like school of, it's because
hard knocks.
Like, the school of hard knocks. Like, unless you want to be something that's regulated, like a lawyer or a doctor or a pharmacist or whatever, right? Dentist, then you don't have to do that. Like, okay, there's a really, really interesting, I just went down to FinCon. It's the biggest, personal finance conference in North America. And we have a little Facebook group, and somebody said they were having a conversation with somebody that they know, and they said, you shouldn't be talking about money unless you have a degree in finance or economics or accounting, right? And the conversation apparently got quite uncomfortable.
Right.
And she was like, how many people in this group have degrees, and what do you think? Like, how would you address this? Oh, man, you imagine the comments that are coming through, right? It seems like a lot of us have degrees. You can see mine on my wall, right? Did this help me with what I'm doing with personal finance? Does it help me do a podcast? Absolutely not, right? Yep. Am I talking about intercompany consolidation and foreign currency translation or derivatives right now? Hey, maybe I understand what that is when somebody tells me that's what they do. Yeah. That's all. But does that make you less qualified to talk about money? Like, you don't have a college degree. Do you have to address that?
Oh, my gosh. So, it's one of the biggest hurdles I've faced, because when I was 19, that's when I started going out and doing these workshops around personal finance. And I think the biggest advantage I have is not having that degree and not having that CFP. And the reason why is because I can speak this language as if I don't know the language. And so when I say MER, management expense ratio, we don't say MER like people know what it is. No, it's a commission. This is a commission you pay to your financial advisor and on your investments. That's what it is.
That's right.
Right?
And let's talk about that in real terms, what is
exactly.
this thing?
No need to overcomplicate it. No need to use these fancy terms. And I think Albert Einstein said, like, if you have to make something sound more complicated than it is, you don't really understand it. Yeah. Right? You have to be able to bring things and make them simple. And the other thing is, are you doing what you're preaching? Right? Like, I have money, I have rental properties, I have money in the stock market, private lending deals. Like, a lot of the stuff that I talk about, I'm doing 100%. There's a stat I saw on the Tony Robbins book. 46% of financial planners have no retirement plan.
They don't have it at all.
No retirement plan. Not to bash against them.
No, but you're probably right. And the whole mutual fund business was set up for salespeople to make money. Yep. Not for helping people. Like, I mean, banking in general. We can get into that a little bit. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time on that. But yeah, let's go back to. So you're starting at this company.
Right.
You're working for free for 8 months. And then you get a position, and they're like, okay, now we can pay you, or how does that go?
So what happened was,
I was start doing workshops.
I was in sales, and sales is really, you get what you sell. So at the beginning, I sucked. Like, I was really, really bad. I was going out there and selling nothing. So
what are you trying to sell?
So what we're trying to sell, a couple different things. So we have a kids program that we would sell to parents to teach their kids about money.
Individual,
like DVD sets. So I started off doing that.
Yeah.
After that, we put together this event. So it's a full day event, and kind of like the personal finance event that you went to, we call it our Wealth Mastery Boot Camp. Okay. So it's a full day event where we teach people everything that they need to know about money, from getting out of debt to understanding MERs, to doing private second mortgages, to real estate, to the markets, to doing your own investing. So we put together this event. It started off really small. We had like 50 people come out, and it just grew over the past 4 years. We've had, I think, 9,000 Canadians attend this event.
Wow. And how frequently does it?
So we do them once a year in every major city. So just the whole past year, I've been on, I think this year I've been on 42 flights just right across the country.
So you're going to different cities and putting these on. How many in like, what's a typical attendance in a city?
So typical attendance, so in Vancouver, we had about 1,000 people come out to it. Wow. So which was great. And they're not cheap events. Like, they're $400 a ticket, right?
Wow,
so they're, because what we wanted to do is, we wanted to make this event. We also have an event for people that are kind of struggling financially, in debt. We have a whole online curriculum that we kind of say, a lot of people say, I can't afford this. Well, we have our whole online curriculum that if you're in debt, living commission check to commission check or paycheck to paycheck, that's great there. But yeah, that's how these events work. We've had thousands of people, right? Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg. We're doing one in Ontario, November 16th, 17th. And yeah, that's kind of what it is. It's learning about money in a fun, easy way. Everything that you need to do, all the tools. So yeah, so as I got better at selling these events, my income went up.
Because you were working on commission.
Yep.
So that's how they're compensating. And I suppose this $400 price tag that people pay is more than made up on their end for saving in fees.
100%.
Just the learning itself, right?
We had one. She was a realtor, and she had $450,000 in an investment. She's paying 3.2% MER. 3.2, which is high, which is pretty high.
Wow.
It is pretty high. And so what she was able to do, she came to our event. We taught her, because the biggest thing with us, it's not like, oh, use us, come invest with us, use our financial planners. We don't do that. We just teach you how to find the right ones. So when she came, she found out she's paying 3.2, which she didn't know. And she was able to get that 3.2 down to 1%. So that right there saved her thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah, so just to break that down for people, 3% on 1% on 450,000 would be $4,500. Right. So she was paying closer to 15,000 a year in just fees. And what do we think she was getting in a return on that?
I think she was getting a
average
5-6% return,
like over maybe a 10-year. How long does she have that in there?
4-year period. So the past 4 years, which was low.
That's
was that pretty low.
Was that net of her fees, or would they take that out of there?
That was net.
Yeah,
so that
was net.
So she was really getting like a 7 point.
Yeah. So she's paying this high premium to get somebody to get slightly over, say, the market average, to then bring her back down to below the market average.
They were basically getting paid the same, right? Like they're both getting like 3% each, 3.5% each.
Yeah,
right?
and then of course there's the concept of over the long term, say 10, 20, 30, 40 years, that actively managed 3.2% fee that is supposed to be worth like all of this awesomeness in investing. Kind of averages out over the.
We did the math over 20 years at a 6% return. It was she would literally. If she wasn't paying any fee, getting a 6% return, she would have $1.3 million.
Yeah. Because
she's paying this 3.2, she'll have $630,000.
Yes.
So it's like literally half, which is what it is.
And the data tells us that the active managers would probably still get the 6% that the passive investments would get, right?
Yeah.
It's like there's no proof that in the long term they do better. Because that's
not
a justification, right?
Not a lot of proof. Well, there's a stat, I think it's, where was it from? It says 96% of actively managed funds fail to outperform the market over a 15-year period. 96%.
96%. So because if there was a better stat than that, hey, I'd happily pay 3% to get 13.
100%.
Say, right? Because then great, I'm getting my 10%. That which is what Automatic Millionaire tells me I should be getting in terms of the latte factor. But 10% is just an example. That's really hard to get these days, isn't it?
It is tough. It's tough. Well, you look at the markets now. Like the U.S. has done pretty good this year. Canada has kind of struggled, but you know what? Over the past 120 years, 8%. Like if you have decade by decade, you're looking at an 8% return.
Just overall.
In a pretty balanced, maybe a little bit more aggressive portfolio.
Yeah.
But then the other thing that people don't really account is all these other opportunities out there. Real estate has been phenomenal. Investing in private second mortgages has been amazing. But once again, when people hear these things, they get excited because right now our private second mortgages, they're 20, 30,000, but you're getting like a 13, 14% return.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to go and sit down and understand how this thing works. You can't just jump into it.
Which is intimidating to a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
But you teach people how to have this, because there's diversity in investments, in fund investments, say, but then there's a diversity in entirety of different products that you can get, which is what you're talking about.
Yeah. There's so much you can do. Like a lot of people that, I think one is... a lot of people that have a house, they pay down their mortgage, they're very happy about that. And based on your age, it kind of depends on you. But a lot of people can take some equity from their home and buy another rental property. But they don't, and I don't know why they don't. My parents, same thing, live in Richmond Hill. They've been living there for 20 years. Bought the house for $300,000, grew to $1.5 million.
Oh, crap.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But they were so proud that their mortgage is like $100,000. Oh, our mortgage is only $100,000.
Now they have all this equity.
Yeah. So what they were able to do is, and of course, like we had to help him a little,
Yeah.
borrowed that money, got 3 investment properties in Oshawa, each cash flowing $550 a month,
Sure.
roughly. And now it's amazing. Like you have all these properties, you're paying down the mortgage, you're getting this not much appreciation, but some appreciation, paying down the mortgage, getting some cash flow. And why not? But here's the problem with them. They didn't know any of this. Like,
No, people
they didn't
don't.
have the financial literacy. No one
That's
really
right.
sat them down and said, you can do this. This is possible. And debt seems really scary for a lot of people. Oh, debt. But as your financial literacy increases, your risk decreases and your stress decreases as well. So my parents are a perfect example of this, right?
I wanted to ask you about risk. Like, so you took, let's just break that example down a little. You took some money from, it was paid off their house at this point? Or they still had the 100,000?
50,000,
sure.
yeah.
50,000 on 1 point whatever million. So you used some of the money in equity in their house to access, and then you used it as down payments on other properties, which you then rented out and charge enough to cover the mortgage plus the mortgages plus have income coming in from each one.
Yeah, so I'll give you one example of one of the properties. So we have one it's on Harmony Street and right south of the 407. And the house was $450,000 or $500,000. The down payment was about $100,000. Yeah. And with all the repairs we have all the spreadsheets and stuff like that with the mortgage and all the expenses. Their mortgage was about, with the mortgage and everything, about $2,300, $2,400 with everything. Mortgage, repairs, insurance, everything. And so we rent the upstairs for $1,600 and the downstairs for $1,500. So cash flows really a couple $100. I think $500-$600 a month. It cash flows.
So over top of the mortgage.
Yeah.
payment.
Well, there's an upstairs person and down. It's a duplex, right? So
the reason why people are worried about this is, what if something happened to the tenants?
Yep.
If you're going to get tenants, also, what if something happened to your parents?
Yep.
And, well, I guess they don't really need to be doing cash flow anymore, but they still need to be paying that mortgage. So, like, what about all these what ifs?
Yeah,
How do we address those?
What if, I think my biggest what if wouldn't be tenants, because Oshawa, like, you have to study the markets that you're in, right? Yeah. So Oshawa is a fantastic market. So much opportunity there. Yeah. My biggest what if is if the markets go down.
Sure.
That's my biggest what if. But as the markets go down, rent usually increases because people are scared. They're not going to go into home ownership. They want to kind of rent. And so rent is going to stay the same. So as long as you're cash flowing and as long as you have a 10-year horizon that I'm going to own this house for 10 years, in most cases, not all, you're going to be fine, right? If you have a 1-2 year, I want to flip, then you're exposed to a market crash. But if you have like a 10, 15, 20-year horizon, that's like, we have Tycoon Tyson, who I don't want to talk about.
No,
he has a property in a townhouse in London.
You got to get him on the show.
Yeah. Oh, dude, he's
talk
a
about
ball of energy.
His, like 2 years of experience. And
yeah. So he bought it. Yeah. He bought a townhouse, $150,000 in London, Ontario, and he's renting it out to a professor for it's so funny for $1,600. So his cap rate, right, is like almost 10%, which is unbelievable. So
that's crazy. And sorry, I got something in my eye.
Oh, no worries.
I gotta get I'll probably keep this
unedited
part in the show. It's like, what does he do? Why is he blinking so much? Is he trying to wink at me for something? You know, the perils of doing, you're just recording anything, right? Is
there
that we're still human beings.
We're
right?
such humans. We're making mistakes, or we're goofy.
So yeah, people are still afraid though, and I don't know. You know, when I think back to a lot of people that I know, like, they're not buying properties at 15, or they're not wanting to be entrepreneurs and getting into this like you did at 18. Everyone just is told so much about this comfortable, follow this path, despite what you might feel, because what you're feeling is wrong. Yeah. How many times were you told that?
So much, and I think my parents are I love them to death, but they're a perfect example. Like, why on earth would we borrow money when we worked 20 years to pay off our mortgage? It doesn't make sense. Why would I do that?
It's a logical response, and they're right. Why would I? Because there is, like, no matter how much we try to mitigate it, there is risk there 100%. Where there wasn't before. And I am way more in tune to the risk, because I do understand all of these different options, but I'm way more in tune because I went through some really bad stuff, right? And when you are in debt to $40,000 and you're making less than $40,000 a year, that will never ever be paid off, right? No matter what you do. And at that point, you're thinking, this is it. I never want anyone to be in this situation again, right? And so, yeah, I became very risk averse, very debt averse, and I'm planning to stay that way. So as much as I understand all this stuff, I personally would err on the side of safety as long as it helps me achieve my goals in a reasonable way. But what I gave up for that is the potential of market climbs, and I do have stuff invested in more risky stuff for the long term because that just makes sense, right? If you that's something that we should convey to people who are risk averse, is that if you have a time horizon, then doesn't matter if you're risk averse. Take the risky move because you got 30 years, right? The things will correct themselves, right? But I don't want debt though. For sure. I would never borrow to invest personally, but I understand those. And maybe 10, 15 years ago, when I had less to lose, if I wasn't in a heavy addiction, that would have made more sense to me.
And you know what? Like, you're 100% right. And everyone's situation is so different, right? If you're about to retire, horrible strategy. Like, this doesn't make any sense, right? And for my parents, the first thing I told them was borrow this money and invest it in the markets. That's what I told them. Go buy some ETFs. And they were so scared of that. Like, no mutual funds, no ETFs.
Really?
No.
Even of those?
So anti.
So they weren't investing at all? What were they doing?
They weren't investing at all. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just the mortgage pay down.
Building it up, paying them. I mean, a house is not a bad thing to put money into. Yeah.
Exactly. But they saw the power of having a home. And when they sat down, and here's the biggest thing, they just educated themselves on how rental properties work, how to mitigate your risk. And it took a while, but as their education increased, they took action and their kind of fear decreased. And real estate, you can touch it, right? Like, you can feel it. It's there.
Something
the markets
tangible.
Are kind of like, it's like trading. And I love them. I like the markets more, honestly, than real estate. But for them, it was their situation, their risk tolerance, who they are, what they went through. And that's with everyone's situation. If it doesn't make sense to you, then the headache is going to kill you. It's going to eat you alive. Even if you're getting a great rate of return, you're not going to sleep at night. You're going to be stressing out about money. It's not worth it.
Yeah,
it really isn't.
And breaking it down into real language as you're doing, I just realized you said real estate, you can touch it, and I use the word tangible.
Tangible, yeah.
And probably a lot of people don't even know what that means, right? But I went to school and I learned words like tangible and intangible, and words like amortization and depreciation,
cap rates, right?
and impairment, and things that no one will ever need to know.
Yeah.
And I go back to what we talked about earlier, the complicated language of. I had that experience when it came to financial ratios.
Right.
I really can't stand financial ratios and the way that they're communicated. Let's talk about why the current asset ratio is, why is debt to equity important? What is that? Let's just explain it instead of saying, oh, do all these ratios and this means that. Well, that's like, who said it? Who was saying? Albert Einstein.
Albert Einstein, yep.
That's people trying to keep things complicated so that they can keep all the knowledge to themselves.
Yeah.
Really, the financial industry. So have you had to break down a lot of these barriers to education and just and explain that the banks are not there to help us? Yeah,
so you know what? We're not I want to be really clear. We're not anti-financial advisors. We're not saying,
absolutely.
Yeah, they're great. But if you find one and when you're talking to them, it's like they're speaking a different language. Like you want someone that you can understand, right? You want someone that's going to say, hey, this is how much your money is going to grow, instead of like, even rate of return is such, that's like it's very basic, right? Rate of return. But there's this, I think it was a Tony Robbins quote, not to quote you to death here, but it says, complexity kills execution.
Yes.
And it can't be more true in the world of money. The reason why so many people don't take action to manage their own money is because they feel like they need like a PhD in finance and they need to know all these terms. And honestly, you don't. As long as you have a really good foundation and you know a couple things, then you're good to go. Investing in real estate is not super complicated. It isn't. It really isn't. But there's a couple things that you do need to know. But once you learn those things, you're good to go, right? The more complicated you make it, the less likely you're going to take action on it. And we're kind of personal finance experts, so it's easy for us to overcomplicate it. But the normal person living 9 to 5, doesn't have that much time to go out there and read books and interview
No.
guests and learn about this topic, right? So as simple as you can make it, the better, right? That's the goal.
And, so if people haven't done the math yet, so you're 22.
Yep.
And you said you have, can you break down your investments? What do you have?
So
You don't have to get into numbers.
no worries. So with my investments, I have about $100,000, a little bit less than 100,000 in the markets.
Okay.
Now my portfolio is ridiculously risky. Like
it is.
It's no joke. Risky.
You are super young.
Yeah.
But risky ETFs
I don't own
or
even
like stocks.
Like no bonds whatsoever. Right.
That's not a bad thing these days because bonds are terrible.
Yeah, no fixed income. But yeah, ETFs. So I have the Vanguard VFV and I have an international ETF.
So you're saying these are risky?
They're risky because I don't have any fixed income, right?
Yeah.
So if you're listening and you're like 50, 60 years old, you have
Yes.
like this is kind of this is pretty risky.
I think that's the only really to me, and especially I've been talking to different people lately. I just had David Jenkins on the last episode, and he has the answeris.ca.
Yep.
And he recommends 100% equities.
Wow.
But diversified. Like we can diversify within equities, and I think you're right. The only warning to be said out there is to people who are going to need the money in 10 years.
Yeah.
Or 5.
For sure.
Or even whatever.
We're due for every 3 to 5 years there's a market crash.
Yeah.
Like every 3 to we haven't had one since 10 years.
If
So
not a big one, a correction of some
a correction,
kind.
20% or something like that. So if you need access to that capital, then you're probably better off putting that money into like a GIC.
Really?
You really
or
are.
a high interest savings account for that matter.
You can get like 3% now.
Yeah,
it's
if
just
you
great.
can get 3% in a GIC.
I think RBC had like a billboard when I was coming in, and it's like 3%.
Yeah,
like,
I never trust the billboards.
Yeah, there you go. I know. It's probably all
like,
these things.
Yeah, 3% ladder if you keep it in for 15 years.
You're right.
Those kinds of things. 3% every 5 years. But yeah, other than that though, see, I don't even think we talked about risk versus volatility. And I thought that was a really interesting, and everyone's different definition of risk.
Yep.
So you have yours in, and now you say investments. These are things, are they in tax-deferred accounts?
Yes.
Or,
so TFSA and a corporation.
Yeah.
So it's like a corporate investing account.
You got your own corporation?
Yeah, I started that. And you know what? It's probably not worth it right now just because like it's just, but.
Well, why don't you talk about that for a little bit? Why have a corporation for investments for you?
Yeah, so it wasn't as much for investments in terms of kind of just like income kind of
you,
protection.
For your business.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm kind of a corporation that gets paid for doing speaking and doing all these different things. And I think here's the thing, guys. I live at home. I drive a 2013 used Honda Civic.
Keep doing it, man.
No expenses whatsoever. And that kind of lets me have a lot of net income. So my net income is pretty high. And when your net income is above, I think it's like 70 or 75,000, it makes more sense to have a corporation.
Sure.
And then also when you want to buy shares and do like different, like I'm starting to,
the corporation can buy.
Corporation can do like investing, like if you want to buy like a startup or do like some stuff like that.
Angel investing or
Angel
something
investing.
Like that. Yeah.
And like that's like
this
just
is what Warren
case.
Buffett does.
Yeah.
That's what Berkshire Hathaway was, just buying other companies and the whole company. I don't know that it was ever him as a person ever buying anything.
Yeah.
But
who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Back in the day, I did read his biography, but
which one,
I don't remember all the details.
That was...
No, there was actually, I think it was called Warren or something like that. It was one where it kind of criticized him a lot. Yeah, because he was very much, he just only cares about making money.
Ruthless,
he doesn't care about spending it. His emotions just went away. Like
it's kind of like Steve Jobs, when you read his book.
That's it, right? Like you got this, you're really, really good at something.
Yeah.
You're going to have an offset somewhere else, right? So the corporation, you are funneling everything to there, which means you're not taking any of it out.
Very little. Like, I mean, like very, very little. And I believe, like, I'm not an accountant here, but I think the first 25 or 30% you can take out dividend without paying any tax.
If that's your only income.
If that's you got it. Yeah. And that's 100% tax free.
The dividend rules in Canada are kind of awesome. I take every opportunity to, if anyone's thinking of crafting their life and like having only dividend income, I'm pretty sure it's up into the 50s, 50,000 where you can have it tax free.
It is. It's something like that. And it's pretty awesome. And for someone that don't pay for rent, don't have car payments, like nothing. And so my real only expenses are my girlfriend, and like that's pretty much it.
And
like,
we could
maybe
argue
gas.
we're getting into a time where maybe she should pay for her own stuff.
There you go.
You know, don't tell her I said that. So, yeah, now let's talk about living at home, because
Yeah.
I'm sure there are so many parents who have kids living at home
Yeah.
who wish they did half of what you're doing because they're probably not doing anything. And they're just like, would you just go out and get a job or do something? And you're like, you're 22, so that this is probably okay. So, like, you know, because people are going to think, oh, well, he doesn't have to pay for this or that. Well, yeah, you know, you go back to when you're 18 and go do something with your life and start making money. Nobody has this example to go back on, right? It doesn't mean that you have it so much easier. That just means this is why you have this much of a net worth already.
Yeah.
So you're getting off to a great start. And what do your parents think now?
Oh, they love it. How can you not, right?
How can you not?
They love it, and you know, try to help out with them with like pay for rent, but it's not like a lot, like $750 a month. Which
Sure.
is like
Well, that's really cool.
Yeah,
and again, parents, listen to this, right? Your kids could be doing this.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't even have a college education.
It's challenging. Yeah, it's challenge with our generation. Like I see my friends. It's just a
is.
tough time to be a young person. I looked at. Because I do want to move out. Like, I'm not trying to stay.
No, but it's also a pretty...
Oh, my gosh.
It's like... It's almost
the
like...
amount that you save, I've done the math, it's ridiculous.
Well,
how
you know
much
about
save.
the FIRE movement, I imagine, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the FIRE movement is about cutting your costs and being frugal. Well, you're doing it right off the bat.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would love to get to the point where you are, where they have... You know, not a free place, but a very,
Cheap, very cheap.
very inexpensive place to stay. And so do it early, because then, you know, you're going to have investment income. You said you have a property as well, investment property?
No property.
Okay.
So yeah, I was just talking about that. I was looking at Yonge and Eglinton, like just to buy like a new development condo, just because, hey, you know what, maybe in a couple of years want to move out. Of course, I
you're
travel
planning
right
for
now,
that.
so it's not worth it. But oh my gosh, man, like $1,000 a square foot for something that's not going to be built in 4 years.
So,
the average, like a 2-bedroom is like 900 square feet. That's like $1 million.
Yeah, I'm thinking the smallest place would probably be a hallway that's 700 square feet.
It's
$700,000.
crazy. And like, so I'm having this debate with myself. I don't know what to do. And so I'm at this place, and I've come to the conclusion of, you know what? I'm probably going to buy maybe 2 investment properties in London and rent.
Yeah.
Really, because the land transfer tax is going to be lower. There's all these different things, and you know what? And it really depends on your situation. I'm probably going to move in the next like 4 or 5 years, so I wouldn't want to have something that I'm going to have to sell. I want to hold on to something.
You want to have your freedom, right?
For
So
sure.
that's another thing about properties. So I mean, you can hire people. I just did an interview with my cousin who has had properties throughout his life, and they moved to Zimbabwe during their life, and they just hired a property manager to take care of their fourplex in Ottawa, and that is something you can do. But again, these are responsibilities that people don't want.
Yeah,
right?
they don't want that. And so, but if you get smart, the other option is, you know what? If I can go get a property in Pickering, and Pickering, maybe you could get like a duplex and rent out the basement to someone. Yeah. Live upstairs, rent out the basement. I think Sean Cooper talks about that. Live in the basement,
you
right?
know, whenever somebody says live in the basement and rent out the top, I think of Sean.
Yeah.
Because that's what he did, and that's how he paid off his mortgage in 3 years. And you know, people think things are impossible, and you know, you don't seem like you're having to do any of the frugality stuff that Sean did.
No, so that's the big thing with me. Like, I do have like not the nicest car or like rent or anything like that, but I'll definitely spend money on nice restaurants, always going downtown, getting like nice hotel rooms, and going on really nice trips. So I'm definitely not the FIRE movement. That's definitely not me.
But you're a little young for FIRE anyway.
Yeah.
But this is why you don't have, why you don't have your own house like Sean, and you only have $100,000 or whatever it is, right? And but like this is what a great beginning for you, right?
Not bad. Good mentors. Like it's just finding the right people to mentor you and just to point you in the right direction. I wish I could say, I was so smart and I did it on my own.
Yeah,
but
nobody starts that way. I don't know why we have to be smart right out of the gate, right? Like people expect that. It's really dumb. Give people a chance to learn, right? Yeah. And so you started getting paid, and then of course you started banking all that money as soon as you could, and then you're getting better at sales. And what's your role now there?
So I'm the vice president of the company, and so all I do is I travel right across the country doing workshops, I've done, I think, 160 workshops. Had 2 today. Before I had one in Brantford in the morning, and then one in Oakville. And that's all I do. I just travel to right across the country doing workshops, teaching people how to get smarter with their money in an easy way, and just simple stuff, and really changing their mindset that, hey, if you're in debt, you're probably not in debt because of what you make. It's probably because of what you spend. Understanding MERs in the financial services industry, you know, how to create a retirement plan, how to create a financial plan, RSPs and TFSAs, like all this stuff. And the challenge is a lot of corporations, they're not teaching their employees about money. There's a massive opportunity.
So you can get in there.
With Enriched Academy. There is, because you have all this training. They do massages for you. They do everything, but they don't really teach employees about money. So the school system doesn't. Most of our employers don't. We don't learn from our parents. So when do we really learn this stuff?
So universities and corporations, those are kind of major places for you to get in?
Huge, yeah. So we have a really cool partnership with the CFL, so the Canadian Football League.
Amazing.
We teach their football players about money.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, well, they love it. And they're so smart with their money.
They are now.
They are, no, always. Even before, we met one guy, he plays on BC Lions.
Oh, that's good.
And he has 4 investment properties in Windsor, all cap rate, cash flowing. Really, really well.
So we hear about athletes and spending and going crazy and then going
CFL,
bankrupt.
They don't make a lot of money. CFL is I think it's like average salary is $100,000, so it's not like NFL.
But they're making more money than they would have ever seen before.
For sure.
And I'm sure it's easy for them to get carried away.
Yeah.
So you might have seen ones that were just. So when you go, so you've done things with the CFL.
Yep.
Spoke to players.
Yep.
Is it intimidating? First of all.
No, they love it, man. And you know what?
I mean,
Kevin,
they're all just huge.
Yeah,
right?
They're huge, man. They would
like,
literally.
What if I say the wrong thing?
I'm so skinny. I know you can't see. They could probably.
Well, you're going to be on the front cover of the podcast.
There you go.
Episode,
you guys are going to see how skinny I am, and these guys are huge, but they're such cool guys,
they got a good head on their shoulders,
and such a big heart, right?
Yeah,
just real good people. And Kevin does a really good job whenever I go on stage, and he always does a really good introduction and talks about my story and adds in some jokes and stuff like that, and they love it. They really do. And when you see a when you see a 22-year-old do it, and man, I got 36% in high school math, and I cheated right to get that mark. So I'm not a smart guy, but I just understand how money works, and I'm able to translate in a way that's really simple. ETFs and those things aren't hard to explain, but people make them way harder to explain.
Yeah.
An ETF, I'll give you kind of an example here. What an ETF is, it's basically a variety pack. That's all it is. It's one fund that you buy, and inside that fund, you have all these great companies in them. So if one company goes down, you have all these other companies kind of holding you up. So it's a really cool way to have money in different companies, so you don't put all your money into one company, and you're kind of diversified. So, and when you speak like that to these guys, they get it, because they're so used to people coming in and using a high language. So yeah, you
need a Vanguard, or you need to get shares in XIC. And
XIC, the Canadian one.
What are these? What does it mean?
What is a code? What is a Vanguard?
Right?
What the heck is a Vanguard?
And is an MER of 0.01 good? Yeah, it is. But 0.01%, which you can get on some now, right?
Vanguard has that all new. Have you seen that one?
No.
It's unreal. It's all in one ETF. So you could buy this one exchange traded fund, and in it you have 3 to 4 different ETFs. So you can literally go on Question and just buy one. They have a really aggressive one, so perfect. Yeah. They have a conservative one and a balanced one. So
it's almost like they're giving you the options like Tangerine would of 3 balanced index funds, but I'm guessing their MER is nothing.
It's so low. It's you know what it's like? It's like a robo-advisor.
Yeah.
They do the rebalancing for you. They do everything.
But you don't have to pay the robo-advisor fee.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's getting way cheaper to invest, especially on your own, which a lot of people aren't comfortable with. I get, including myself. I just don't want to use the brain space for
Feel that,
right? But I get it, and the 2% fees, management expense ratios. I don't want to say MERs anymore because I think it's too complicated.
It is too complicated. Right? Management expense ratio. What the heck? They just created that term to confuse us.
They made it up.
They did. They made it up.
So that they could justify its existence, right?
You know what the 3rd leading cause of death is in the United States?
You're going to say MERs?
No. I wish. It's called iatrogenic causes. It's just a fancy way of saying physician or medical error.
Interesting.
It's mistakes made by the
Mistakes,
doctor.
but they made up, or they took this word from old Latin or Greek or wherever, and made it so that I wouldn't understand what that means.
When you hear iatrogenic, when I first heard, I'm like, this must be like some like
Some
Ebola,
disease.
right? Like
Yeah.
it must be like Ebola. Like, hope I don't catch this. Let me wash my hands, right? Like it's mistakes. That's all it is. So every industry uses languages to confuse us. Insurance does it, financial services, real estate, healthcare. So the first step to understanding any new skill is just to understand the language, right? And once you know these terms, then you're better equipped. And when you hear MER, you'll hear commission. That's what it is, right? And so,
stuff that goes into someone else's pocket and not yours.
Yeah, exactly.
But a lot of times, especially if it's low, it's justified because they are putting all these little pieces of the companies into a fund. They're choosing the right ones. They're balancing them out for you.
Yeah.
And sure, they're doing it in a very computerized sort of way, but they're putting these packages together, so it's worth the point, whatever.
You know what? It is. And you know what? There's even an argument for 2% MER, which I don't agree with, but if you're getting personalized help, if you're getting someone that's going to hold your hand and comfort you and really be specific with you, that's what I think is lacking in these robo-advisors.
Sure.
They're great, but there's no one-on-one help. There's no system to talk about mortgages, to talk about insurance, to talk about budgeting, to talk about retirement planning. They don't exist. And those things usually exist with a financial planner, right?
Yeah.
So there's still a ton of value with financial advisors. They offer one-on-one customized personalization help. As soon as the robo-advisors figure that out, then it's game over.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to be adding more.
In the U.S., it's huge. The personal capital.
Yeah.
You have, even if you have like 20,000, you have a personal
somebody dedicated,
and they create plans for you. Like, here's your plan here, and they talk about insurance and mortgages.
Well, Planswell does that here.
Yep.
But I think everyone's sort of heading that way. I mean, I think Planswell sort of paved the way because they have a robo-advisor, but they aren't only a robo-advisor.
Yep.
They're making the plan for free.
Yep.
And they want you to review the plan, right? Like this is everything that I wanted to happen. This was what I started doing.
Yeah.
It was like, here, let's do this, and then I'll send you to the robos to finish off the work, right? But now they have somebody like there for you, which is great. So I hope it really kind of goes across the board, and then you guys will keep educating. So, okay, Enriched Academy.
Yep.
Give us a spiel. How do people find you?
Yeah, so if you go to enrichedacademy.com, we're there. We are on Instagram, Facebook. We're doing all that. So
you're all over LinkedIn.
Over LinkedIn.
Videos to the extreme of all the things that you've done.
Yep.
Well, some of the presentations you've done. Are they all recorded or
no?
Just some. I've seen some, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you would be doing at a workshop, or there's an example of what you would be doing at workshops?
Yeah, exactly. So there's so much on LinkedIn where we're just getting our social media up and running. We're very much a B2B company, so we're not very much B2C.
No.
But we're entering that space. We're doing like webinars. We're trying to host a lot more stuff. So that's something to kind of look out for.
That's our complicated language. So B2B, business to business.
Yeah, there you go.
So because we want the B's to pay and not the C's.
Exactly.
Right? So the businesses are going to pay.
So the C's get it for free.
So the C's get it for free. So, so you get your corporation, your company as pay as a part of financial wellness and health package, right?
Yep.
Which has become much more popular from what I've been hearing. Or your school, like your university.
Career colleges are big.
Yes.
They actually make it mandatory. So
that's amazing.
For like CDI Career College,
yeah, sure.
Their students, like, they're making it mandatory for them to watch this program to teach them about their student loans and credit cards and how their money works, but in a fun way, right? Like, not, once again, in a way, I'm guilty of using that B2B language, but in a way that's like it's just like entertaining. And Kevin, you should see Kevin Cochran speak. He is the funniest speaker you have ever seen on money. He just makes it so funny to watch, and you would think you're at a comedy show, let alone a personal finance seminar.
Well, you got to come down to FinCon because there's a lot of that down there too.
For sure.
But that's what we need. We need people who are super comfortable and passionate, like yourself, to spread the word, and we'll keep doing this and making podcasts. And listen, Enriched Academy, Arian, you got to say your own last name.
Beyzaei. Don't even try.
I thought so.
Don't even try.
It's got a lot of vowels in it. I just didn't want to get it wrong.
Vowels.
So Arian Beyzaei.
Yep.
Perfect. Thanks so much for coming.
Thanks for having me. I had a blast. Thanks so much.
If you like this episode, please subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or however you get your podcasts. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much. I'd love to get your feedback on this episode or any other episode in my new Facebook group. To find the group, go to Facebook and search for The Personal Finance Show. Once you're approved, you'll be able to interact with me and previous guests of the show and other fans as well. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of The Personal Finance Show. Next week, my guest will be Liz Enriquez, founder of AmbitiousAdulting.com and the Facebook group Personal Finance for Canadian Millennials.